On April 14th of 2010, I came home that afternoon from work. I work at Kraft Foods, and I told my husband I had my two fingers were quite numb that day, and he asked me if I had any other problems. I said, no, not really.
Sandy was transplanting some plants, and so she dug up one plant and had moved it to another location.
I could feel myself getting dizzy, so I thought I better get down on all fours, because I thought for a moment I was going to faint. And then I guess I lost consciousness.
And then I turned around and she was laying on the ground. And that just shocked me. I couldn't understand that, because she just works in the yard, and no matter what the temperature is, it never bothers her. And so I ran over to her and, asked, tried to say, are you okay, to talk to her. And her head just, fell back, and I was just in shock. I didn't know what to do. And so I laid her down, and then I got the phone and called, 911, and they responded and took her to the hospital. And so the doctor had explained to my daughter and I, what had happened. It was that she'd had a stroke, and that it was, severe, and that she was paralyzed. And so at that point, he said that, what they could offer at the hospital was to use a clot-busting drug. And then the doctor said that St. Luke's Hospital on the Plaza was working in stroke intervention, and that they could offer, some other options to us.
We were almost to the Plaza, and we had to pull over as an ambulance came screaming by us. And as you can imagine, knowing that who's in that ambulance was a little startling. And very short time later, Dr. Boutwell and Dr. Holloway came and introduced themselves. They explained that they were part of the stroke intervention team. They talked to us about her general health. They also explained to us a rating scale that they used to determine severity of stroke, and that my mom was a 22. So I think at that moment we really knew how severe the stroke was. And they later explained to us that they found blockage in her carotid artery, that they were able to clear that with a stent, and then they proceeded up into the brain and found the blood clot, and they used what they call a mercy retrieval system. It's like a corkscrew that they actually go into the clot, clear the clot, and they were able to restore 60% blood flow.
I wanted to ask my family what was wrong or what was going on. And I tried to speak, and all that came out was this grunt. And it was an awful sound.
All I cared about was being able to talk to my mom and laugh with my mom. And that was really hard not to have.
I think it was probably day 2 when Dr. Holloway would make his rounds or come in to see me.
And said, Sandy, how are you? She was later able to explain to him in words that she had a girls' vacation planned for the next week. I naturally expected him to be on my side and not allow it, but as it turned out, that trip was her motivation to get stronger, to get better. She was determined to make that trip happen. And 8 days later, we were in South Carolina on that horse-drawn carriage, and we were able to take a picture of that moment and share it with Dr. Holloway at a later date. Within 24 hours, we went from my mom having a devastating stroke to her sitting in a chair by herself, feeding herself dinner, and talking to anyone that passed by. It was truly amazing how normal, how she was within that 24-hour period of time. Supporting the American Stroke Association directly impacts what the local hospitals are able to achieve for stroke patients like my mom.